Hello folks, sorry for the slow start to the day, but meetings have to happen. First series of the day today is LNG versus Anyone's Legend. If LNG win this, it sets the pace for everyone else wanting to qualify for playoffs. Right now, you need 6 series wins to get into playoffs. So that means that if today, it will go up to 7. That changes things. It changes things, particularly for RNG and Rare Atom. There is a slim chance that they can make it through. I think with a loss today, well, with a win today from LNG, both of them are knocked out, and then the playoffs brackets the race for playoffs kind of only includes Weibo and Thunder Talk, who are outside of the current playoffs bracket as it stands. And thanks everyone for tuning in once again. Sam will come through in just a second, and we'll get through to casting some of these games of League of Legends, folks. So stick with us, and we'll stick with you. In terms of this matchup individually, I think actually the biggest thing is not on the Rift. It's off the Rift. Coaching changes coming to both of these teams in the last week. Tabe coming in for Anyone's Legend, a team which has struggled with this cohesion. On the other side, LNG, they fired their head coach in Crescent. Yu is now leading the team on a strategic level. As you can see, AL only the 1 series win ahead of LNG. There's actually a chance as well that if they end up losing, they could end up dropping out of the playoffs bracket as well. If they lose today, they will be going to 10th. Weibo and Thunder Talk potentially able to pounce on them as well. It really depends on how quickly they can turn around their split. So, quickly going over the compositions, you have Lucian Nami from Gala and Hung. I think the Nami in particular, very, very important in this game alongside the Maokai to deny the Ari, the Renata, and the Nocturne getting good value. If they throw out their ultimates, feels like the counter fire from LNG very, very strong. However, Hope and Kyle, they've actually been pretty strong on the whole in terms of a 2v2. Really has come later into the game where it feels like AL, most of their players on a pretty strong level of form individually. It's just after that point, you know, what happens in terms of that cohesion. Also, a fun return to 2023 as well. Jace mid lane for Scout. Now, this guy was absolutely goated at this champion last year. Him, Rookie, Yagao, all of the best mid laners knew how to use this champion to the highest degree. And you, of course, got the Jace Maokai as well, so that Maokai can go forward and use the Nature's Grasp to kind of shield that champion as he looks for Shock Blast and looks for burst combos. And also as well, because both of them have very long range, either ultimate or the Shock Blast combo, it's very, very nasty in regards to the amount of damage you can get from very long range away very, very quickly. 2v2, lots of summoners blown here as well as we get into the thick of things. Giller and Hung kind of expected to be down in this lane, at least early on. Of course, you got the Kalista and the Renata doing unspeakable things, and it's why Kalista has been, I believe, the highest ban rate champion within the league so far. And don't worry, folks, Sam will be coming through in just a second or two if you're missing the other Hap Good Voice. And we'll have ourselves there. Wait a second. Is that on our end or is that on Billy's end? That one is, it's not buffering the stream. Normally you see that little circle in the middle of the stream when something's going wrong. That is not at all. Very good for us. Sound briefly disappeared as well. Looks like we're okay at that point. We'll keep a track on that. There's every chance that we change website as well at some point to come into this. We have got the Biscuits for Shanks in the mid lane. I don't always think you need that versus the Jace. I actually feel like it's better to go. I really feel like a lot of Ahri players are not using either Sorcery or Resolve runes to get some really good early trades in. You can go Resolved for stuff like Bone Plating, and kind of like just take a little bit more damage and trade back more when you're looking for Ignite. And stuff like the Sorcery secondary for Mana Flow and Scorch allows you to skip something like an early lost chapter. You can go towards even a Lichbane first item with that. It tends to be pretty good. And then also Scorch gives you the extra damage as well in front of that, as well as I hear the opening of a door and hopefully a Sam coming into the room as well. I think when it comes into this game, I feel like before this week, before the coaching change, I would have said 100% LNG would be walking away with this game. Not that LNG have looked that great, it's just that AL have looked worse. However, after the Tabe coaching change, I wonder how much work he can do quickly. He really helped turn around BLG last year from their their spring 23 regular split right the way through to their MSI finals. Their spring finals before that, and their summer playoffs as well. Hello, Sam. How's it going?
How was the meeting?
It was okay, Sam. It was okay. We were just talking about LNG AL. LNG, the way that I'm going to phrase this is LNG are the pace setters for the race for playoffs.
Interesting.
Currently, they hold into the 10th place spot, and you can see that right now, getting a solo kill on top, so would very much help them. Is there anything? There is. Close run stuff is it's ghost for ghost, and Ude showing just how forgiving a champion he is. But yeah, if LNG were to win today, RNG, well, RNG already out, in fact, actually, I don't know why Wikipedia hasn't updated that, but I believe that at that point they do get a kind of like a secondary kill onto Rare Atom as well, who have very poor game score, so they wouldn't be able to match that. After that's not impossible to beat them in series score, so they have the ability to knock out another team from the race.
Here, despite nearly being solo killed, of course, with Iron Mantle being procced a number of times. A bit of grasp trading. Udyr right back to full HP, fairly standard. And I appreciate you saying the pace setters, right? Because in the end, LNG are kind of the bar to overmatch, or I guess try and at least stay level with, because they are the ones who are kind of right at that boundary mark. And to put too fine a point, they've also been on a slight upward trajectory as well after a very mediocre start to the split. We have started to see a game or two where they look a little bit more lethal, and someone like, say, Gala, right, who has been probably their brightest spark on something like the Lucian with a lot of that mid-game agency, could prove to be pretty difficult to manage.
Yeah, and I think that Scout, while he's not had the MVP performance, is still a good mid laner, folks. I've enjoyed the way that he's played with his team around the RE. On an individual level, you know, I think the competition for best RE at LPL is starting to heat up now, especially with Rookie having some fantastic games the other day, Care being a good player for too, but Scout's putting his name into the equation too. But the biggest change, as I was saying earlier, is not on the Rift, it's off the Rift. Tabe coach for AL, and of course LNG have had Crescent step up to, or step down, and you step up. Weiwei is currently getting cut down a little bit. Loses a branch or two. That's fine. AL defending their bot side. This isn't necessarily the easiest set of junglers to dive with. It's not your Xin Zhao and your Lee Sin or a Rel or a Poppy. So you can kind of see that often when you get pressure in this kind of bot lane, you use it to go into the enemy jungle to try and deny a level 6 or something like that instead.
Trying to read the dodge, didn't quite happen. Shanks ults away, so has the charm available. McCrockle around. I wonder how aggressive they feel like going. Charm just wide, try to find an unusual angle and fails to get anything more. That's the ultimate down in mid lane now for Shanks.
And, yeah, I mean, big thing here too is that we have the Maokai Jace combination, which was that was the LNG revelation of spring. Actually, they were the team that revolutionized playing this combo, so jungler can go into the enemy jungle early on, and then Jace can follow over the wall with a shock blast. Because you use it effectively, Jace is a semi-global champion. It's a very different way to play it from the mid lane, as opposed to, you know, trying to go into the lane and try and just protect the Jace so we can do a 1v1 lane. It's not really the same kind of combo, and you can see that Scout typically been very, very good at playing towards his jungler. It's been a problem for LNG, so seeing if they can kind of overcome that, especially with the kind of strategic change in the back room, is important to track.
Yeah, and obviously Jace did get some laning buffs, was a little bit hurt by some of the item changes coming into this year, which did make him fall off that touch. Wasn't so easy to hit his ability haste markers, and obviously things like the first items not being quite as good as they once were. Eclipse isn't bad on him anymore, but the fact it's not what it used to be is certainly one of those things that made Jace feel that little less potent, particularly at that one item mark, which he used to really spike hard on.
Weirdly, I actually don't think it's this one item mark which has been hit more. For me, it's just like, I mean, the one item mark is still good. Eclipse gives 70 AD, and the proc itself is absolutely insane.
Sure.
Obviously, I think you still can proc Eclipse with first strike, so the first strike, I think, ends up procking the Eclipse if you hit just the shock blast, because it technically works as the second instance. There's a weird interaction there, folks.
Okay.
I believe that works, although technically that doesn't work for a couple of other things like Eclipse on like Corky Rocket with the Eclipse. So that anyway, folks, gets a little strange. Even when he runs the first strike, that's the reason I say it. But it might be able to do it with Aaron. That might be the one I was thinking.
Maybe
but either
Aaron,
way, it means that your third item spike is where things get really quite difficult. Crocker has level 6 though, and that's why the reserves are shutting off the lights preemptively for the lights being shut off here.
There we go. Enough about Jace items. You're gonna have to look towards bottom. The hostile takeover is fluid as anything. Manages to lock one down, but now the turnaround as Weiwei is here with the Nature's Grasp, doing so what they can to get a lot of these HP bars low, and no flashes on Kael means he could fall down, but there's just not quite enough damage to turn around anything there, despite a very good ultimate from Weiwei.
Yeah, the double root was not something I expected, but you maybe have to suggest that the bailout was the reason they didn't go for kills there. I feel like if they were playing a little bit more disrespectfully, maybe they just go in and the bailout kind of turns it around even in the low health amounts for anyone's legend. So kill over to anyone's legend, important for them. Goes over to Kael. I don't mind early kills on supports nowadays. It feels like, particularly with the items being as strong as they are, it feels like it's still a good point to get towards an early redemption, an early Mikhails, whatever you feel like.
trying to steal it away with the bubble, can't quite make it happen. And Croco being about a third HP, now a known quantity, means that dragon was secured pretty much for free. Kyle returns to lane, Hope still under tower and doesn't lose a wave despite the HP bars being pretty low, which was a potential problem there with the fact that for all that they got the kill, the HP bars were kind of tagged down a little as a kind of consequence of it all.
I think one of the real specialties we've seen of the LPL recently has been, okay, your reset's been stopped, your HP is low, and you can't have presence in lane. This is how we win a laning phase off of it. We saw that from TT just yesterday, actually. It was a big game for them versus Team W8. This is the all-in once again on the replay. See, level 6 not hit from the Nami. Once you take this fight and you have the Nami wave, very easy to just throw that wave at the other people wanting to follow up. Things change quite beyond that point. Full culling comes in. That was where things kind of started getting a bit spooky for Innialise Legend, but they do make it out safely.
That's exactly it. Towards the top side we go. Zucker taken relatively low here in the lane. Does drag the Udyr all out, but just runs away with a blazing stampede and is fine.
Fun thing there is Zucker tries to get the extra distance on the dash by kind of dashing over the tower. If you get over the halfway mark when you click the cursor, it allows you to kind of just pop over the other side. You know, there are some champions which have that kind of enshrined in their kit, so it gives them extra wall clear distance, even when it shouldn't technically. Echo E is a big one for that. He goes over walls which technically are longer than his E dash, but it's very easy to cast it at the same point. That is very mean, Hung. That is very mean. But as we said, LPL specialty, stopping resets and then getting a good laning phase after that point, so they just deny an easy access into bot side.
Yeah, and it does mean that actually that kind of 10 or so seconds probably delays an easy shove in, which might have got them a plate, actually. Denying a Kalista, that always feels good. Static shiv in for Lucian as well, so the wave clear should realistically be Gala's now, so that ability to get access to the plates much more limited for anyone's legend in the bot side now, just purely off the wave clear.
So, items coming through across the board. We already talked about wave clear, we talked about Shiv, Blade of the Ruin King for Hope, obviously a big dueling item. Really waiting to see what'll happen once these junglers hit their first items as well. We've got the tank of Weiwei. He won't have that potentially for the next skirmish.
Slightly unusual first item there for Zucker as well, who's not gone towards anything like a Iceborne Gauntlet or anything. It's actually just the full
It's versus Udyr.
Hollow Radiance. I know it's versus the Udyr, but even then it feels like it's not the most common item ever. As actually huge chunk onto Shanks, who gets hit by a tree hidden in the jungle. Now the turnaround from Croco means out of the river comes the giant reptile, Weiwei dead to rights. And what looked like a good pick turns into disaster for LNG.
Oh man, and this is the combo which LNG used so well last year with Tarzan and Scout. Normally they'd go in for one of these big plays and they'd be able to finish off a quick kill, reset, and then look towards the back and the next part of the fight. They can't do that here. And now with jungler off the board, with mid laner not being able to respond either. See that Gal is forced to use the culling. There was the threat of a dive there. He makes it out safely. He needs to be careful here though. He can't disrespect Croco even without that ult. With that flash, he could follow up for a Fear Tether and that could be very dangerous.
Good use of the spell shield there. Croco not going to be hit up by the Aqua Prism, which could otherwise have proven a little difficult. Clear up a fair amount of gold by getting rid of that control ward. Always feels nice to pick that up. And LNG a little bit overeager. Croco with the nice counter gank with the use of the Paranoia comes to play a little earlier than might otherwise have been. And that is always an issue when you're playing into Nocturne where you don't have vision in the enemy jungle. His ability to respond if he's on the same quadrant is very easy.
And, you know, we already talked about this combo saying, hey, very good follow-up from Jace in terms of being able to get towards the play. The acceleration gate also helps with that too in the form change. But they just go too deep, and the new map is very unforgiving when you're kind of like fighting in the enemy jungle and trying to get back towards your own towers. Not quite as easy to do that at this point. And Dark Seal stack over the Shanks. Happy about that one. One item hit for mid jungle. That Stride Breaker. Very, very impactful against a Jace who hasn't taken Phase Rush. You don't get that slow resist once you've proc that. Harry is alone on top side though. Potential of a fight. Doesn't bring him through the wall.
Unfortunate angle there from Zucker means Harry gets to walk away pretty much for free. It's the Ghost popped on both of the top laners. Of course, Zucker did go all out, so that ultimate ability is down. But with the rotation coming on through and Harry having to reset, should give LNG first kind of blush at attacking this tower.
Teleport coming through from Harry. He'll be able to wave clear this one probably just fine. It's an Udyr. He has infinite wave clear in his kit, even though he doesn't build any wave clear items or any damage items. Still Galen Hung. Of course, one item Lucian Nami, very strong still. But still, it's going to be the teleport and not much else beyond that point. So, AL, they got their Paranoia coming back up. Might be getting to the point where actually it's Pronoia for the side of LNG, where actually they need to be it's not actually, you know, paranoia. They're just right. This jungler is going to be really hurting them in the next few minutes because he's hanging around this bot side. Zucker is tanky enough to stay this one out, but I really feel like with the red wards dropped in the bot side jungle, LNG need to be very careful.
At that, LNG are taking the opportunity to claim the Herald here. Wei doing this one relatively for free. Of course, LNG did claim an earlier dragon, so this will just be a trade of objective for objective. And it's worth noting as well, only 3 grubs taken this game, so no 6 grub, or more importantly, I suppose, the 5 grub mark for that breakpoint for might spawns. So LNG now with the plates falling, looking to secure first turret with full wave, including a cannon to work with. It shouldn't take too much work to do, but of course Hope on the other side, looking to beat them in that race.
So it's going to be LNG with first turrets. So LNG win that race and get a little extra gold in pocket. First brick, over to them. I don't really know when I didn't stick. I know some people like to say first tower blood, and that just felt too wordy for me. First brick, that was a Doa-ism back in the day.
Would make some sense.
I enjoyed that. Of course, the term came through because after Season 5, lane swaps were so strong at that point. They were like, right, we need to find a way for people to, like, not just keep lane swapping and hitting turrets. So we'll add in first, you know, bonus for the first kill of a tower. I just like first brick. I like it a lot, Sam.
It's the first brick in your monument to victory.
That's very poetic, Sam.
I like to think so.
As opposed to the Haloism of I am a monument to all your sins, one of the late game achievements. Was that in Halo 3 all skills on?
Yeah.
Or was that legendary or was that all skills on?
No, it was something that Cortana said as well.
No, it was, but it was also an achievement too.
Yeah, it was. I can't remember what it actually was. Maybe it was Lasso.
Potentially something around that. So, getting ourselves further into the early game here. One item spike feels like it's very strong for the Lucian army. Mid jungle though, they are very strong at this point. You don't have a Muramana or something like a Ghost Blade built up for Scout or an opportunity. He's gone for the slower stacking of the Muramana. Wants the quicker transformation, I believe, I guess, by going for that first, because you get stacks quicker on the Manamune compared to just the tier. Gives you 6 per stack. Well, I mean, technically the tier gives you more in terms of base than it used to, but it gives you more on the whole. You can get on your auto attacks too. LNG, that means though, they're waiting for that power spike still.
There they are. Croco needs to be a bit scared, but so does Kyle, who's taken very low indeed, down about a third HP. Shanks coming down the river. In some ways, the damage is kind of already done. Forced to reset. Now, control ward's going to be thrown in that bush, and those walls cleared out. Scout up here. So Shanks roaming back from the river.
You can see how LNG kind of have to play as a death ball. You kind of have to play groups up. Can't really give someone isolated over to particularly the Ahri and the Nocturne, who can absolutely kill them. At this point, there's no one tanky enough to stop both of that kind of mixed damage to full dive combo coming through. You can see that Wei went for the Barmies into the Knight's Vow. They're pretty efficient items. Doesn't really mean there's that much magic resist though. Building towards Murktros probably gets it on this back, and I feel like LNG, the fact that they haven't given over a kill at the 1 item mark and they might be able to cruise over to 2 items is actually pretty significant for them. They're starting to get up towards, you know, some of these kind of damage cores, some of these tank cores. Feels like AL would like to force a fight before that really becomes a problem. And okay, Scout, very different build. I was talking about maybe a Ghost Blade or an opportunity. Goes for the Hubris.
Oh, Hubris, it's one of those items that people have still kind of making their minds up about a bit, because obviously it did get some buffs after its initial launch. Basically, the idea is once you get a kill or you get involved in a takedown, you get an additional spike of damage. You get an additional spike of stats for a little bit. It's like Medjai's, but briefly.
Yeah, it's for 45 seconds after you damage a champion that dies within 3 seconds. So it's like Jinx passive as opposed to like full kill or assist. You get 10 AD plus the amount of stacks you've got, well, the amount of times you've activated this thing before times 2. So I believe on ARAM it's only +1 actually for each stack, but because they've had to nerf that. But on Summoner's Rift, so it'll be 10, then 12, then 14. It'll keep stacking like that up over time. And of course, Jace, if he gets good kill participation, they do get that first kill. It means that his follow-up combos and the second shock blast and stuff like that, being able to siege after a 1 fight is really obnoxious. But means less safety and potentially less ability to get that first kill. Herald into the mid lane. They have the Mark out to protect them as well if they need to.
Extended play, but it is actually Scout who was in. They get hit with the hostile takeover. The Markelt would have to try to buy some space to turn around the engage, but in comes Croco right to the backside with the power. Nobody's down, and now the Hubris can activate that temporary Medjai is doing all the work, and Zucker Dashing on forwards with an all-out. Everyone here to play. AL still pretty low. Way coming on over, looking to throw down a sapling. A wonderful double Aqua Prison. Scout goes to the skies, brings out multiple people. Hope is reeled out of danger briefly with a bailout, but still goes down. And LNG win the fight in mid lane.
4 for 1 for LNG. AL, they might have changed the coach, but they can't change the course of that team fight. I really think there was a big mistake from Shanks in there. Didn't hold onto his charm to fire it onto a CC target, just fires it out into the wind, and they lose that bit of CC. That could have changed everything. Felt like they could have just ran off that first kill after killing Weiwei, but they can't quite manage it. LNG, they walk away having a Herald charge into the mid lane, and the Nami gets huge value being counter-engaged. So, Renato, genuinely, really good. Gets to ping a couple of people out. You can see that the initial flash goes around, but then Shanks misuses his charm here. He doesn't end up getting that full combo through. I feel like they could have just followed on to just a single target in the front line. They can't quite manage it. And then the magic happens right after this. You have a double bubble after a shock blast comes through. That is absolutely disgusting damage as Scout cleans up some kills.
And not to put too fine a point on it, that's after Kyle's just flashed as well. So he flashes and still gets caught with the prison. It is exquisite timing. But now over to the Dragon we go. LNG with a bit more golden infantry. Looking to play this one out more aggressively. Still no ult on the Nocturne, which could prove problematic. Weiwei has got that Nature's Grasp up, throws it straight across the broad side of the team, getting a couple roots. Not that much more value. Nocturne secures the Dragon though, so it will be AL with the victory on that Smite fight.
Okay, so Baron available now too, particularly with frontline available on both teams. There is a chance that that can be started up and just kind of used to bait, because those tanks can allow you to sit on it without taking as much damage. LNG moving up, getting themselves into position to try and get some mid lane push and see how much value they can really get out of this play.
Indeed, since they claim another tower in mid lane, continue to extend the gold lead, but the Paranoia comes through alongside that Spirit Rush. They're going to try and dive onto the Cassandra, who doesn't seem like that valuable a target. Charm lands onto Weiwei briefly, but not that much work. Gala, though, very low on the backside. All out, though, gets Hope miles away as he was looking for the kill. He's taken down. On the other side, Croco's gone in to try and kill the Cassandra and loses horribly. Shanks kills off Weiwei, so at least there's one back for anyone's legend, but they've lost their AD carry. They've lost their jungler. Ari gets one more, but the damage comes through as the piercing light claims their life. Scout looking for a shock blast, lands it onto Kyle, who's got nowhere to go. Maybe, just maybe, they decide, actually, we're not going to be able to get there in time before he gets the turret, and that'll be a little bit too eager.
Dude, I thought this team was going to be slow. This turtle's got hands. LNG, they're actually pulling out good fight after good fight. And it feels like Anyone's Legend have really disrespected the disengage and reset potential in terms of resetting the battle lines, as opposed to, you know, getting an extra ability or a charge or something like that. The ability is going to like shrug off the initial engage and then play afterwards. Cassandra W, great on that kind of level. Dashes back into his team and suddenly big ultimates all been used. And despite the fact that the Kalista and Arda get good value here, it's really hard to pull out the rend when you've got someone who can CC you up for those important moments. Zucker pulls the Kalista away from the important rend targets. Croco in a bad place too. Zucker, been a bit of a silent hero for LNG this split. Rarely been the person who's been the problem on the team. Consistently had real teamfight impact on the Cassandra, even in their lost streak. Important moment for him there. And hey, now they are fighting from behind against a team that does outscale them.
Credit to Shanks for at least getting a couple kills there and something at the back end of it. It could have been an absolute wash without it. It makes it a 2 for 3 rather than a 3 for 1 or 3 for none even. But still, it's not what you like to see if you're an Anyone's Legend fan. Because it feels like the problem is the anyone this time around is LNG, who are looking a little more legendary than you are right now. 3 kills, 3 assists on this Jace. Similar amount of kill participation over towards Gala as well at 205. Those carries are online right now for LNG. This is their point of power.
I really like how LNG are not playing on 3 lanes against the Nocturne and the Ahri. If they were pushing bot lane at the same time as mid and top lane, this would be a disaster. But they're pushing just mid and top lane, using the Lucian and the Jace as these huge wrecking balls, backed up by the Nami and the Maokai disengage and the ability to ward off people diving towards them. It's a level of macro from LNG that we've not really seen this year so far. I feel like the loss of Azir has hurt this team disproportionately, because not only is Azir Scout's most played champion in his career, I think it's one of his best ones on an individual level, he also knows how to play it on a macro level. He knows how to get into side lanes and get a lot of gold from, you know, top lane, bot lane, outer turret, while his jungler is shadowing him at the same time. They haven't been able to play towards that. The Jace, though, kind of an AD control mage in its own right. kind of allows him to play towards a similar style. It's once again collecting waves in these side lanes. Scout really starting to accelerate. 3 items, has a Cyrilda's on top of the Muramana Hubris core for him this game.
He's a very, very strong champion right now. Still stayed on the free ass boots. Obviously, there is a world where that becomes something like Ionian. Often feels very good on the Jace for additional ability haste, but has prioritized getting to the 3 item core early, and that makes sense. Jace, very potent at this point, and he's one of those champions that, with the addition of Cyrilda's a year or 2 back, finally found another breath of life as the game got later. He used to kind of fall off a bit of a cliff. These days, definitely not the case, as the ability to start throwing some of those late game shot blasts really hurts.
And this is the bonus of building something like the Hubris. Well, I mean, typically be the Ghost Blade, but the Hubris or the Ghost Blade, something like that, because Cyrilda's is now this strange item where basically, Riot didn't want it to be a fighter item. They wanted it to be for people who build lethality already. So the percent armor penetration and the slow scales off of lethality. You need lethality items, which is why Eclipse kind of sucks with him at some point now, because it means when you get to 3 items and you need the percent armor pen, the Eclipse no longer giving lethality means that he really drops the power compared to the, the Eclipse Muramana Cyrilda spike he used to have in the last couple of years in the Mythic era. With something like this, the extra lethality item, it is giving him much more power to potentially cut through frontline a little later.
Here he takes a little bit of a chunk there from the Lucian, but nothing super meaningful right now. Of course, 3rd item now complete for Gala as well. Can't sleep on him. Infinity Edge on the Lucian will really begin to hurt if he manages to get a full culling off on someone.
Yeah, Gala's really, really strong. That first tap is so damage, right? Oh man, that one is. It's kind of like at the point where it's he's no longer got little pea shooters like going forward like dual Desert Eagles, like blam, 50 cals, Infinity Edge crits everywhere. So hope looking like sadly that main character from Modern Warfare 2.
Great in a pistol round, that's what I'm saying.
You know that one scene from Modern Warfare 2 with the Desert Eagle? It's like, oh no, this is bad. This is how we lose our main character.
Danger close, I suppose.
I can't remember the name of that mission, but it was pretty bad. All the same, Scout now left alone on topside for once, but again, every time Scout is collecting a wave in topside, there's someone there just backing him up. One of the big things about anyone's Legend AL,
no,
is that they have had some shifts in the back room in their coaching staff, and that will, at some point, lead to some strategic differences being shown on the Rift in the team as well. LNG looking less lost and slow and just more poised, and they go straight towards the Baron, and this is just as AL have lost their Ori ultimate. They're going to have to teleport back onto the map, and indeed they do.
They do just that, of course. Zika was here first. Harry has to run away pretty fast, of course. This is still versus a Nocturne with Flash and ultimate. This will just be a flip. It's down to 2,000 HP. It comes in, but the smite doesn't happen. Tries to make the steal occur. LNG flip it and win out.
That was a flip, folks. Just throwing it out there. There was nothing solid about that one. Croco goes straight into the pit and is there in time for a smite as he does the drive-by. Oh my god, the damage from the shot class is starting to rack up from Scout as well. Anyone's Legend, they now have to play against a team with a Maokai and a Jace, and the culling as well from the Lucian in terms of siege. While they don't really have a way to engage into them now. They've gone down into the arrayed spears of LNG multiple times in this game so far, and it hasn't worked out better for them. As you can see, there's a couple of big ultimates used from LNG. As the teleport comes through, this is a bit of a waste. I really feel like if they'd saved one of those ultimates to throw the other side, it would have changed things. I guess you've got the spell shield from Nocturne, so it wouldn't change things all too much after that point. And now the siege begins. Very hard to stop LNG from getting to these turrets.
I want to say is my eyebrows were getting increasingly high on my forehead as I watched a Nocturne with Paranoia and Flash get close to the Baron pit. I was like, this is very bold, LNG. But they get away with it. Didn't even sync up all their abilities to smite it down. The Scout was looking to shot blast people outside of the pit. Still, they get the Baron, they get the shove, and now AL are on the back foot. They have been for a little while, but this could be game breaking.
So, Garlop has himself that last whisper. Oh, God, if that shot blast lands, you know what? I wouldn't put it past Scout's damage right now. They would straight
that would be a kill.
Kill him.
Yeah, that would be a kill.
Callista returning back to the realms of the dead. No longer a revenant, just a corpse. As LNG looked to finally just crush into this base. AL felt like they had to fight around that one item mark. Couldn't find what they wanted to. And they've been slowly bled out over the course of the rest of the game.
The shot blast begin to fire. Don't know whether Scout's got quite enough ability haste to get a second shot blast through that acceleration gate. Shanks, though, down at 20% HP on the side. means that the paranoia's gone. The stopwatch has to come through to immune Gala's damage, and that means there's no one left for him to go. Azuka claims him with his Intofos. A shot back onto Croco is bailed out, but that will still be a handbag in LNG's inventory. Harry gets pulled all out. A knockback onto Kyle with a bramble smash, and the rest of the team falls to the wayside. LNG silence the doubters and will claim game 1 here versus anyone's legend.
And there are a lot of teams out there just outside the playoffs bracket thing. Oh hell, looks like the benchmark's going up a little. If they win another game in this series, the other teams waiting for it will have to reach minimum 7 series wins. Right now, LNG are playing against 3 teams in their last 3 matches against other teams in the playoffs race. Anyone's legend, they're not secure yet. They could themselves get knocked out. And LNG, where were you when they won a game in under 30 minutes? The turtle shell is it's been taken off today. They've been really starting to go off to the races. Folks, sorry for the late start again today. We had some meetings to go through, but thanks for sticking with us all the same. And Sam, if you need a drink, now's the time to do it.
Chance to go grab it.